Frankly, real tax reform in Minnesota would be eliminating the income tax in this state once and for all. I'm not here demanding tax and spending relief for the rich, or for that matter, the middle class, because they're rich or middle class. I'm demanding tax and spending relief because they're individuals. And the individual protected from the mob is exactly what the American experiment is all about. I don't care if you're the last millionaire, the majority doesn't have a right to take away your property and your liberty, period. End of discussion. We've got this politics of envy crowd so much a part of Minnesota that's, well, if you make more, we can take more. Can you imagine, when it comes to things like the Fourth Amendment, we're all going to have protection from unreasonable searches and seizures, unless you make 80 grand. Then, they can just barge in the door. They wouldn't take away that particular right. And remember, that Fourth Amendment protection is all based on one thing: property. You can't have political rights without economic rights. And the idea that the government can't barge down your door without a warrant means that your property is sacrosanct. That's the barrier between you and the state. It's no different when it comes to income taxes, no different when it comes to estate taxes. It's none of their business. It's not their money. Now, as I said earlier, we've reached a tipping point, friends. We now have, according to the Tax Foundation, 60% of Americans, I want you to listen to this, 60% of Americans getting more from government than they pay in taxes. Now that's a tipping point, because if everybody is in the wagon, all they're going to do is keep piling on the burden on those of us pulling. It is unsustainable. 47% of households, for all the talk about the rich getting off scot-free or the upper middle class, 47% of American households pay no federal income tax at all. At all. And those, by the way, they'll be extended in the Obama extension. The rest of us will have tax increases. Those people will get more earned income tax credits, believe it or not. So what's the result of all this? The result is that while the private sector has been shrinking, 8 million jobs less later, government has been growing. The federal government is has hired, by the way, in the last 2 years at a double-digit rate. At a double-digit rate. And they're giving raises to boot. You know why? You know why this doesn't work? You know why spending at the government level doesn't work? Because politicians don't invest for an economic return. When you and I go out and we borrow money or we invest for an economic return. We're going to earn more than the interest costs. Government invests for what? A political return. So they invest by handing out your money to people who will vote for them. That doesn't grow the economy. There's a newsflash for you. And so we've got a situation where every single policy proposal, the bailout, the health care, I'm not going to call it reform, the health care takeover, and the stimulus package, that's done wonders. We're at 10% unemployment. It's amazing. It's amazing how you cannot spend your way out of a spending crisis. It's duh. So every single policy proposal has been designed for one thing: not to cure health care. We could have done that with reform. Not to stimulate the economy. Every single policy proposal by the Obama administration, by the DFL majority here, has been designed to do one thing: enlarge the state, enlarge the government, because they know where they get their votes. Well, guess what? The empire's pushing back, and we're the empire. The fact is, America has now broken down into two classes, and it's not rich versus poor. It is the political class versus the working class. That's the political class, you're the working class. Give you a case in point. Ever heard of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees? No, don't get me wrong, there's some hard-working people who work for government, some good folks. But the unions that represent these people, they are not your friends. They now have a campaign going on with your tax dollars to increase taxes in Minnesota. It used to be $1 billion before the Supreme Court's handiwork. Now it's going to have to be $3 billion, and next budget biennium it'll have to be $6 billion. And their problem is they think the wealthy have got off scot-free in Minnesota. Well, I just happen to have the actual facts. Not that facts should get in the way of what AFSCME would want to do, but the top 5% in Minnesota have 32% of the income. pretty good chunk of the income. There you go, rich getting richer, right? They pay 44% of the state income tax. So the top 5% of earners, those households, say you got 2 people in the household making $85,000 a year, it's a good salary. You know, nobody's crying over it, but they're paying 44% of all the taxes. The top 10%, the uber rich, you households making $124,000 a year, again, could be 2 income earners, could be a small business, could be a sole proprietorship. You earn 43% of all the income. Nice chunk. But you pay 57% of all the income taxes collected. It doesn't sound to me like the wealthy are getting off scot-free here. Now, you might say, well, the bottom 50%, they're really getting the shaft, right? The bottom 50% pay less than 4% of the state taxes collected, and the bottom 20% pay no income tax. They get a check from the state government. Folks, why do we want to raise taxes on the people already paying the taxes and extend tax cuts to people who are already getting the checks? That is not going to grow the economy. The federal situation is even worse, where you've got the top 1% of income earners paying as much as the bottom 95% of income earners. The top 1% pay as much as the bottom 95%. Now again, I'm not here to defend the rich. I'm here to defend your ability to get rich. We used to call that the American dream until they went into session. Look, we've got a crisis here, and there's only one solution to the crisis, and that's this. That's exactly what you're doing. Showing up, getting involved, saying you've had enough. Because we are at a tipping point. We really are. I'm not altogether certain that we're going to have a 1980 repeat. We tried the politics of malaise in the 1970s. I like to say, if you didn't live through Jimmy Carter, you're about to get a second chance. We've had the politics of malaise. We've had the tax increases and the energy mandates and everybody putting on a cardigan sweater and turning down the thermostat. And in 1980, the voters solidly rejected that and elected the greatest president in my lifetime, Ronald Wilson Reagan. The question ahead for us is whether we have enough Americans outside the wagon who can still muster a majority to do that. And that's the real challenge ahead. The challenge for each and every one of us in Minnesota and across this country, come this fall, is to elect office holders who will represent our interests and not the government's. Thank you all very much for coming this fall.